Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Saturday, January 28th, 2023, after 3 p.m. Eastern. The meditation on the 2nd of February. We will be doing that early. And so we probably want everybody to be here at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. 1 p.m. Mountain Time. That's February 2nd, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. I'll remind everybody that's when the meditation will be. Interesting from Nisargadatta. If you believe in God, then work with Him. If you do not, then become one. If you believe in God, then work with Him. If you do not, then become one. The source of God is the foundation of our very beings. It is the divine intelligence, energy, and consciousness inside all matter that ties the fabric of the universe together. This highly intelligent energy is in everything. It's inside every atom, and in between every atom. There is no place or space that quantum physicists have discovered that this highly intelligent living force does not exist. They can't disprove it, in other words. The God force is our essential essence. It's our naturalness and our true life force. It is the very source of our spiritual essence, that which no words can describe. And when we fully relax into ourselves, we create enough room to connect with it. We know we are connecting with it because we feel and see everyone and everything in this life is emanating this ease, love, connection, and joy. In reality, the experience is emanating from you. You find God instantly when you get out of the way and attune your body senses to the divine matrix that's already here now. The deeper we can relax into our bodies and its senses, the further we will dive down the rabbit hole to discover that this godlike experience the foundation of our bodies on which we actually are. There is no escaping it. Unless, of course, we become lost in all the thoughts flying through our mind. If you would like here's a powerful, instantly get grounded in God. Okay? There's 3 areas of life. Slow your life way down in these 6 areas of life. Think slower. Think slower. Talk slower. Eat slower. Walk slower. Drive slower. Breathe slower. So think slower, talk slower, eat slower, walk slower, drive slower, breathe slower. Now you can make that devoted or devote yourself, commit yourself to just do every single thing you do throughout your day at half the speed that you normally do. Your ego will hate this, yet your soul will love it. Most people miss this divine experience because they are paying more attention to their speedy thoughts instead of their senses, and end up rushing through their day. And most on this planet do that. To stop this, remember one thing. Rushing through a life is an act of violence against your soul. Rushing through a life is an act of violence against your soul. There's no arguing this, no debating it. Rushing through a life is an act of violence against your soul. Rushing means you're not truly reverent with this life. You are attached to the mind, which is chasing after some big, juicy future carrot and overlooking the sweet, unconditional, loving source that is here now. This constant reaching for a better future experience simply says that you are not enjoying resting in the God source at the core of your very being. Be aware that naturally the mind is an addict. It is already deeply addicted to moving into the past and future and avoiding the now. If we want to get out of this habit and go beyond feeling overwhelmed, behind, stuck, or beating ourselves up about things that should or shouldn't have happened in our lives, we need to start getting more grounded in God. When we slow everything down, we create space for consciousness to flood in. We then can notice that every single problem that we have is because we were not fully here and surrendered to God. In this relaxed space, the ego mind stops pushing you to get to the next experience. And then it just happens one ordinary day that you find divinity inside you, breathing you. This is real, everlasting happiness. A quiet mind is all you need. All else will happen rightly. Once your mind is quiet, there's your Gadada. When we slow down our lives down completely, we slow them down completely, we will eventually reach a space inside ourselves where we completely stop. We stop all doing in our mind and finally fall into a place of resting and pure being. Here, we can finally relax into the meeting of where God exists inside and outside. We become this meeting point, the state of pure being. In the very middle, in pure being, you become aware that this energy exists within the presence of your own consciousness. Relax into purity. Relax into purely being. You'll see there is a feeling of deep relief like nothing you have ever experienced in your entire life. Meditation is the discovery that the point of life is always arrived at in the immediate moment. Meditation is the discovery that the point of life has always arrived at in the immediate moment, Ellen wants. Discovering this God force inside of us feels as if we were holding our breath under the ocean forever. And then suddenly we come up to the surface for our first breath of air. Finding God within our being feels like we can finally take in life in its totality with such a great lightness and buoyancy that we often feel like we're floating on air. If and when you wish to completely enlighten your consciousness, first ground your awareness deeply in the present moment. Grounding means being here now. And to experience this, all that is required is the state of surrender. To completely surrender means you're willing to let go of your mind and every thought flowing through it. Surrender gives you the eyes to see God, and everything that is brought to these eyes becomes divine. Osho. Surrendering fully to God also means we are constantly releasing any arising desire to achieve anything, to change anything, to create anything, or arrive anywhere better than here now. This means we're letting our egos hand over all of its burdens, attachments, and responsibilities to God. We are not the doer anymore. Instead, we are being done by life. Just for a few minutes, try it. Stop being the doer. Stop being someone, something, somebody special, or not special at all. Stop being anybody. Right now, stop being the one who is creating everything in your life. Take the ultimate vacation and completely be relieved of all duty. Total surrender means we are no longer holding on to anything the mind believes to be important, right? You're no longer holding on to anything the mind believes to be important, urgent, or real. It is a radical approach, I understand. Yet, if you want total freedom, you must give up your ego totally. This means no attachment to the past, present, or future. Your ego's desires become secondary on this path of surrender because we are trusting the divine. All-knowing, synchronistic, all-intelligent God force flowing through the universe instead. When you become the deepest valley of reception, then the highest peaks of consciousness can be given to you. Only a valley can receive a peak. A disciple should be absolutely feminine, receptive like a womb. Only then such a phenomenon happens as is going to happen in this song. Also, when trust takes precedence over your ego's desires, you will naturally surrender to each experience knowing it is the right experience. This enables every moment of life to become a doorway to the divine. We surrender not because we have to, but because it just feels so good. There is this constant merging and melting with that source, which makes everything feel lighter and freer on the inside. From this lighter, easier space, Whatever you want is what God wants. Your will becomes God's will. And God's will becomes your will. You become grounded in the divine reality. This grounded, enlightened state only happens through a total, continuous state of ego surrender. So the big question I invite you to ask yourself today is, what causes us to not feel connected to or grounded in God? What desires are we attached to that are seemingly more important than this divine freedom? Be aware of the subtle choices you are making that aren't allowing you to enjoy whatever you are doing with your life, how you are at work, in your relationships, or alone by yourself. What is stopping us from being totally at peace, deeply relaxed in our bodies, and always trusting the divine? This is a unique and personal answer for everyone. Yet there's a 99% chance it has something to do with being wrapped up in attachment to desire. Attachment to one single small desire can throw our entire beautiful life face down flat in the mud. Attachment is what makes us think and feel that we are separate from God. When we are over-identified with our desires, it makes us think that we need to do something to become a better person. We feel as if who we are right now is not enough. This is the lie that keeps the ego the master over our lives. When will you find God? When all your desires for other things are finished? And you realize that the only thing worth having is Him? When every thought, every feeling is drenched with the love of God. Paramahansa Yogananda. This sensation that we need to arrive at someplace better, where we will have more money, better friends, more amazing life experiences, and more expensive things, makes us think we will have become a better person. We will feel more successful and accomplished, so that we will feel happier, more fulfilled, and perhaps more lovable and worthy of love in our lives. The mind's attachment to all these desires is ignoring the truth that divine love and the most sacred experience of this life is available by resting as the God source, right here, right now. Desire is a tricky thing, because we also need desire to keep life alive, flowing, and karmically moving. Without desires, we would all become sleeping slugs in puddles of warm mud. This may sound nice to some, yet honestly, how many years can one really enjoy that? The secret to having a great relationship with your desires is trusting that all your wishes are also God's wishes for you. Know that the universe is a team player who is on your team, doing everything necessary to manifest your needs at the right time and place. When you truly surrender and trust that the universe is always working for you and not against you, is always working for you and never against you, then you are able to relax fully inside your body and find a deeply grounded experience in the divine. If you should believe that God's will and your will are different, this means your ego is playing a game with you. You are never separate from God. Your mind can only imagine that you are separate. How can a drop of water be separate from the ocean? Time is in the mind. Space is in the mind. The law of cause and effect is also a way of thinking. In reality, all is here and now, and all is one. Multiplicity and diversity are in the mind only. Nisargadatta. We only think we are isolated because we have been looping around and around in states of difficulty, emotional struggle, and suffering, unable to find freedom. These states are all happening because there is some idea in our minds we cannot be with. Whatever we cannot be with, we become. These states are all happening because there is some idea in our minds we cannot be with. Whatever we cannot be with, we become. If you cannot be with this idea that you are not separate from God, then you will create a tension around it, and it becomes your experience of reality. This is what the ego is all about. Ego is simply a tension, an identity, a separate goal-oriented mind state that is all about serving the little me to attain its personal success and agenda. It has nothing to do with merging with existence. Take a closer look at your daily experience of reality. Are you living from your microcosmic self or your macrocosmic self? Okay? Are you living from your microcosmic self or your macrocosmic self? Are you living from your small self or your large self? Try living from both and see what occurs. When we are only serving our ego's needs, this always leads to some future suffering. This small separate self is what perpetuates the desperate cycle of needing, having, possessing, wanting, and then gasping for more. Possession of material riches without inner peace is like dying of thirst while bathing in a lake. Possession of material riches without inner peace is like dying of thirst while bathing in a lake. Paramahansa Yogananda. True surrender in this life is a perpetual arrival into the now. It is constantly trusting life is abundant and always offering more. It's the deepest letting go of the ego's ideas about what we think we want and don't want that will make us happy. When we finally do let go, we naturally start abiding in the sacred home and heart where God is. We begin to effortlessly manifest all our dreams and desires simply because we are not attached. And when they show up, it just feels like extra frosted icing on the cake. Knowing this is a true wisdom and the source of where real freedom and empowerment, love, and lightness is, and life shines through. The apparent presence of the mind is the doorway to awakening. Make peace with the mind in every moment, and you will experience total bliss. Most of us don't make peace with the mind. We're either ridiculing ourselves internally, cutting ourselves down, basically deconstructing ourselves. Most of us don't love ourselves truly and deeply. Most of us are stuck in the ego mind, either always wanting to be right or always want to be right, never wrong. And even though the insanity of that is there is no really right or wrong. We will suddenly drop the amnesia that we are not God and realize this is what our life mission is really all about. This is the day we become 100% surrendered to the God source. And all our problems fade away because we can see how everything is a deeply eternal loving in disguise. Excuse me. And now you begin to understand, how can we do anything else until we know we are the God? I don't mean superficially. I mean deeply. See, because when we actually, without a doubt, with total trust, faith, that we are the God, not this body, the ego mind's gone permanently. Some people they believe that they get very distorted and fearful because they can't leave the mind. Can't leave it alone. It's always buzzing, and it almost sounds like a buzzsaw of thoughts, humming with thousands and thousands of thoughts, directing you, telling you what to do. Always afraid that it's going to lose you. And when some of us come to the conclusion and say, what is all this out here? What is it? What are all these things? More things and more things that sometimes controls us to the point of being blind to the gods that we are. And to know that you're this omnipotently powerful being is your discovery. What do you think happens after that? You remain in bliss. It's not once in a great while, it's all the time. You remain in happiness and joy all the time. You also realize is that, wait a minute, this body that I'm in is temporary. It's not going to last me forever. Eventually, I'm going to leave it. And you will. And you'll determine from what you've learned in a short period of time in that body, right? You will have learned who and what you are. You don't learn that outside. You don't learn it when you've left the body. Because most souls don't even know who and what they are. But when you've learned who and what you are, without a doubt, then when you leave the body, it's like, here we go. This is a great time. It has been a real discovery in that body. I know I'm the light. I know I don't care to follow the light. Why would I follow the light if I'm the light? Doesn't make sense. This is why the majority of the souls on this planet leave the body, don't even know that they have left the body. Yeah, because they haven't learned who and what they are while they were in physical form. And I think people get a misconception. India, we have amnesia, right? So allegedly, we have amnesia, and so we're we're in the body and we don't remember really anything of a past life, right? Most don't. And then we start our path. And then we're programmed by other people's thoughts. And then the next thing you know, the word, quote unquote, we're adults. And then during that adult cycle, most of us don't learn who and what we are. Most of us are taught that, a specific religion that you were raised in, or no religion, or whatever. And you become kind of like distracted. And you look at everything, and this is when you don't know who and what you are. You get really scared. I have sat with people in the process when they're leaving the body, they were scared. They were frightened. Because the whole time in this life, they never once decided to go within and find the God that they are. And this is why you probably witnessed this with relatives, loved ones, or anybody, that about 99% of them are scared to death. And then that's why they're so upset and nervous. Where am I going to go from here? What's going to happen? Right? And they're, devout Catholics, Protestants, Episcopalian. We've got over 5,000 religions on this planet. Talk about confusing for people. Oh. So we start over again in a baby body. We go through that life. Maybe thousands of lifetimes before we figure out who and what we are. It's up to each of us to determine, to decide that. It's not about, you have to. And the interesting thing is that most of us don't even know that we never die, the gods that we are in these bodies. We never die. 100,000 years from now, we're still doing our thing. We don't die. But yet, see, when you're attached to the body, when you're frightened about mortality. When it starts overtaking you, you know that you are not aware of the God that you are in that body. It's not negative. That's just how most people have been trained to roll. Really. That's when we talk about surrender and letting go of everything. It doesn't mean you're physically letting go of things. It means that you're not attached to them. They're here one day and gone the next, but you're not going to be affected by it because it's all temporary anyway. And the funny thing is when you truly let go, that's when things appear in your life that you desire, but you're not attached to. Kind of like a suspension of understanding of the God you are in the body. And here's a big question for a lot of people. Would you rather have everything and not have discovered the God that you are in that body? Or would you rather be able to have discovered the God in that body? That's a big question. That tests for you to ask yourself that question, where you're at. And if you fib to yourself, it's not going to go anywhere. So it's superfluous to, the only thing that you can be is true. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, I'll pick having everything. And the funny thing is, when you choose to discover the God you are within the body, you already have everything. So the big joke was the ego mind playing on you and making you believe that you'll have nothing if you discover the God that you are in that body. You'll have everything if you hang with me, which is a lie. But this is what all this transition's about on this planet. It's choosing what direction to take without distraction. There is nothing better than discovering the God that you are within that body, because then you'll realize that everything else is an illusion. It's all an illusion. But some of us get so pulled into it that we believe it's real, and it guides our lives. You can ask yourself, how happy can I be with the ego mind? Well, you can experience, bits of happiness and joy and bliss here and there, spotty to say the least, mostly frustration, disappointment, suffering. Now, what happens when you truly discover the God you are within that body? Means that you're in bliss all the time. You're in joy all the time. You're in happiness all the time, because that's what the God that you are is. Pure, deep, eternal love, 24/7. It's never been outside of us. It's always been the God that we are within. So what does that mean? It means that you're always in the now. It means that the external life out there, the physical, material, you discover is an illusion. It's to entertain you. So if you want to go into it briefly to be entertained, that's not a big deal, because you already know who and what you are. So you'll visit and be entertained by it, and then you'll just step out. See, by being the God that you are, you're no longer disappointed. You're no longer suffering. You're enjoying life because you know what it is. You might say, I'm going to go put my face in the sun for about 15 minutes to get some vitamin D, right? You don't have any, if you're in the path of the God that you are, you're not worried about anything. Then other people would say, oh, you got to be careful. You might burn your skin, cause cancer. A lot of damaging things can happen if you do that. It's the ego mind making you feel uncomfortable and guilty, and not sure of yourself. And as the God that you are in that body, you do whatever you want to do. Because it will always be loving, caring, understanding. So you do what you want to do. Because it won't be bad. Ego mind, that's a little dicey. Why do you worry? Why do you worry? Ego mind. Because you're either in the past or the future, yesterday or tomorrow. That's why we worry. Ego mind. God mind, the God that you are, that's a whole different ball game. You don't worry. You don't stress and you don't fear. Wow, what would that be like? Not worry, stress, or fear. What do you think would happen if you walked up to just anybody, right? You don't have to know them. You said, I have a question I'm just curious about. Have you discovered the God that you are in that body? What do you think their answer will be? They'll probably have that kind of so-so look on their face. On the inside saying, oh gosh, I got another kook here. But, somewhat polite on the outside. Then they say, well, have you? And your answer can be, I'm at the front door of discovering that. And then they say, well, what does it do for you? And you go, it ends all pain and suffering. Really? Yeah. And it also attracts everything that you desire to you. For you. Oh, really? Yeah. What is this, some kind of religious stuff? No. It's so far removed from religion, there's just absolutely no comparison to it. Now, they might go home and, not know what to do, but it kind of rings for them. And then they say, well, how do I start doing this? And you say, you find a quiet place and you focus on your breathing. That's it. You find a quiet place and you focus on your breath, your breathing. And you aren't looking for anything. Right? And you aren't interested in getting anything out of it. You're just being. Some of us will look at things like, well, there's a dark cloud. They will say that they have a dark cloud over them. And where does it come from? Them. When you get down into an area of vibrational frequency where you're no longer even aware that you're emitting it, then you really got some challenges ahead of you. But people will go through life and be that way. And it's usually because of all the things that we've carried in our lives. All the things. And we use them as guides. And we have all these other things that we carry with us. Not even this lifetime, other lifetimes as well. We don't know that. We drag it through life. And it not only does it affect us, it affects everyone around you. But also there are times where you will, knowing the God that you are, you will represent yourself. You won't cower and let others take advantage of you and abuse you and lie to you. Because, why? You respect who and what you are, right? And if they don't respect you for who and what you are, then you stand firm. Not ego mind, though. You know, not revenge, but you stand firm. You don't allow anyone to mistreat you. It's not hard to figure out, you know, who's mistreating you. And see, you'll come across people like that, and they give you the impression that they're what, hoity-toity or arrogant or too self-confident and disrespectful, and you look at them from the ego mind perspective and say, man, what a jerk that is. And if they're so belligerent, you just kind of saturate them in pure, deep, eternal love, and you just kind of dismiss it and you walk on by. We all build karmic debt lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Sooner or later, we are presented with that karmic debt. And we must balance that. It may be, it may be having to spend a few lifetimes on this planet and just be deeply caring and loving that whole lifetime. It just depends on what you have gathered about that lifetime. Whatever it was that you gathered. However you were. Now think about this, just as you're going into quiet time. We are flawless like a diamond. So radiant and perfect in every way that our diamond-like self is divine pure awareness that is forever shining within the very core of our being. Our essence is perfect, yet perpetually flawless. And every crack and crevice we think we see is just another doorway to God. There is not even space for one single flaw inside us anywhere. It is perpetually shining, always brilliant and turned on, never turned off. An eternal light of awareness. Let go of any thought that is covering up this brilliance and all the disbelief that says you are separate from it. Remember, We are this infinite nature. We are a spiritual being living in this human form. We are not just an ego and all its complicated limiting beliefs, patterns that were imposed upon us. This brilliant radiance is truly honest in reality and what we actually are. Be ready to enjoy the light radiating from your perfect diamond-like self, right? Be ready to enjoy the light radiating from your perfect diamond-like self. Are you? I'll join you in the meditation. I'll return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose, and an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. Surrender is the secret key to your enlightenment today. The moment you surrender to this eternal battle and be submerged in the actual experience of it, it disappears. If you are having trouble surrendering, let your greatest fears arise in you. Face it directly. Let go of anything you're attached to. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night and the following morning. We will return here Sunday, January 29th, 2023, 3 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. Be good to yourself. No matter what's going on out there. Be in deep gratitude every single moment